Hello, everyone. Welcome to our demo number 6. This is a this was not a demo that I was planning to do, but I had enough questions about this that I wanted to kind of quickly go over some of the techniques, some of the tools, and give you some tips on how to work with Git. You may not find this helpful in your groups, depending on how you want to organize your groups, how you want to split up the work, and so on. But I want in this demo to kind of simulate two programmers working on the same project in the same folder and see what happens when conflicts come up and how do we resolve some of these conflicts in terms of our code. So I have basically in the same folder. I'm going to clone the two files that I've created. So you can imagine that I've created a repository for a project. So I'm going to call one of them demo1. I'm going to git clone this project into a folder called demo1. I'm going to do the same thing for demo2 over here. Um, and so I'm basically simulating two people that is under the same version control, that is under the same repository in Git. So this one, I'm going to jump into demo 1, and this one, I'm going to jump into demo 2. And I'm just going to show you a couple of things. The first thing I want to show you is branching. So you might find it helpful that throughout development, that some of you might want to branch off and work on your own feature. Now, typically, when we branch off and work on our own feature, we would be working in a separate folder. So usually there's no conflict. I'll talk about what happens when there is conflict in particular files coming up, but generally when we branch off, because we can modularize our code, that usually there's not going to be any conflict when it comes time to merge our code back into the master branch. So I'll show you what that looks like in 1 second. But for now, I just want to show you that there is one file in here called README. And I also have this .git file. .git file is basically all of the config information that you're going to need for this particular repo. You'll find that the .git folder for both of these, for demo 1 and demo 2, would be identical because we are pushing both of them to the same location in in our repository. All right, so right now, I just want to show you if I wanted to branch off, and let's say demo 1 is a programmer and they want to branch off and work on their own part of the project. Okay, so let's try to simulate that for 1 second. And so the way that the project is going, we have this branch called master. Okay, so there is this master branch. And so if we wanted to go off and write some features and perhaps play with a few things, and we don't want to impact the master branch, and this is definitely a good idea, then what we would do is kind of branch off in this way. Okay, so the master branch would still be going, right? So some other people working on other things could merge things back into the master. But let's say this particular programmer wants to just develop on the side some other feature. So the first thing we would need to do is we would need to create a branch. Okay. So the way we could do that is do a git branch command and then call it my branch. Okay, so then what is being created is basically something that looks like this. This is now called my branch. We branch off in this way. Now, at this moment, if we do a git branch, the problem is that, oh, sorry. The problem is that although this branch has already been created, we are not sitting on the branch. So what we also need to do is do a git and then check out my branch. All right, so when we do a git checkout my branch, essentially I say I want to continue my development on my branch. So now this becomes the head of my development. Okay, so when we do a git check out my branch. It says switch to branch my branch. And now if you want to see what branch you're currently in, we do a git status and it'll tell you that right now we're on the branch my branch. Okay. All right. So that means I'm currently on my branch, and as I develop, I'm going to kind of commit along this line, and somebody else could be on another branch. Okay. And this is definitely a good way to kind of organize our work. So you can say, feature one or feature two or feature three, something like that, a more descriptive name than my branch, and have a particular programmer or group of programmers work on that branch extensively. Okay, so now let's just simulate work. Let's go over to demo one, and under README, let's pretend that yeah, we have something like this already, and let's go line 11. Okay, so I create a line 11 and I save it. All right, so now if I want to keep it on this branch, then basically I'm going to do a git add. So add everything that has been changed. I'm going to do a git commit, and I'm going to commit line 11. All right, so that's now inserted into my branch, right? And now if I want to push, I do a git push. Now, remember earlier, I talked about this command called git push Heroku master, and I explained the different parts of that command. Heroku is basically the variable that is used to say what URL am I pushing to. In this case, we are pushing to a URL called origin. By default, when you just create a Git repository, origin is given to you as the default variable for the URL that you're being pushed to. So here, I'm going to push not to master, but to my branch. Okay, so right now we're creating a commit on my branch, and when we do that, it essentially says, okay, everything is from my branch has been pushed to my branch. So the result of this command that we just did here is we've created a commit. And we can do this many times. Okay, so we can, and I invite you when you're working on a feature to commit many, many times. Okay, so there's no, it's not bad to do that, right? Anytime you have a little bit of code that's working, push it and commit it. Now, of course, I do take a look at your commits along the way. So, you make sure you're not committing something like a comment or something like that, right? That really means nothing. But something that is working, right? Something that you can document, you push it, and that's going on to your branch. Okay, so next, let's say I have my feature working. Okay, so let's say I made a few commits, I made a few pushes to my branch, and now my feature is working. So now what do I do to merge it back into the master? So I want to actually add this feature to the master. And by the way, the master is usually something that's in production, right? So we want to be able to merge these 2 points together, right, into something that is in production. So how would I do that? Um, so, so firstly, we should note that at this point, we are still on the my branch, right? On the my branch branch. So I'm going to do a get checkout master. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is jump back into the master. Okay, and now I'm going to merge my branch. So again, let me just very quickly show you the status. Right now, I'm on the master branch, right? I can do a git merge. Okay, so that's the command, git merge my branch. Okay, so from the master branch, I want to merge, I basically want to bring this code into the master. Okay, and when we do that, you'll see that everything's now merged. Now, at this point, we haven't created a commit yet. Okay, so the last step we need to do here is make sure we add everything, make sure we commit. So I'm going to call this merged line 11 into master. All right, so we'll do something like this. And then we can do a git push. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't think I needed that the last two lines there. Get push origin master. And basically this is going to bring everything back into this. So now our head is in this place, and we can continue development from there. Okay, so at this point, you might be wondering, well, what happens when there is a conflict, right? So at times you might have multiple features try to change the same file. And I would recommend you not to do that, or try to work out a way, modularize your code so that it doesn't happen. But remember, in our discussion, in class, we said that there's basically two ways to deal with merge conflicts, right? So one of the ways is to lock down a file. So in this case, I might say, okay, if I'm altering the README file, then I'm going to lock it down so that nobody else can commit to it, okay? Or the second way to do this would be to have the conflict, right? To make a note of the conflict, and then have the two programmers involved, or the whatever the people involved are, to discuss what is the logical way to go. So that's the way that Git would uh, do the conflict resolution. So let's take a look at that. So right now I have demo one, and let's pretend that demo one makes a few more changes. So I'm going to go to demo one, and I'm going to open up README, and right now I'm going to put demo line 11, and I'm going to put demo one. Okay, so just to indicate that line 11 has been changed by the programmer demo one. All right, so now I'm going to jump over to demo 2, and I'm going to do something else. I'm going to do line 11 and then demo 2. You can see that in line 10, I've actually tried to do this demo already once. So let's say that we have a conflict, right? So in demo 1, we have a line 11 that was demo 1, and then in demo 2, we have a line 11 that was altered by demo 2. So only one of these two lines is really the logic that we want to represent. Okay, so let's say that in demo 1, we do a git add. Okay, so I've added my stuff. I'm going to do a commit, and I'm going to commit line 11 from demo 1. All right, so then I'm going to do a git push origin master, right, which pushes now into the master. Okay, so now this is in production, um, and demo 1 has done it. Now, notice at this point that there's no conflict because demo 1 pushed it, and in the repo, it registers this as, okay, it is the next commit that can be created. All right, so demo 1 is it basically made that change. All right, now let's go into demo 2. And demo 2 was working on the same file and made other changes as well. So let's say they do a git add, I do a git commit, and this was line 11 from demo 2. All right, so this is the message that I'm going to attach to this commit statement. So then I'm going to do a git push origin master. All right, so notice now it rejects because it finds that in the middle, there has been a change that has conflicted with the files that I've changed. Okay, so it says here that we can have a hint that we can do a git pull. Okay, and in fact, that's what I'm going to do here. A git pull basically means git checkout and then git merge. Okay, so I'm going to merge everything, into the basically the head of the master. Okay, when we do a git pull, it'll tell me that there's a merge conflict in README file. Okay, now if we open that up, what Git has done is it's actually done a merge, an automatic merge conflict, which means that it included both lines in there. But realistically, we probably don't want to include both lines. Okay, so what we need to do here is then to just decide, we need to go talk to the other person and say, oh, which line do we want to keep? And we might say, oh, I want to keep both lines. Okay, maybe I want to keep both lines like this, or I want to keep only one of the lines. Okay, so really it's up to us now as a programmer, as programmers, to communicate and to discuss what is the logic that we want to keep, what is the logic in this file that we want to keep. Okay, so now I'm going to save this, and now notice that because we're at the head of development now, ahead of the master branch, that when we do git add, right, and then I do a git commit, and now I'm going to add the message merge conflict resolved, okay, that the next time that I do a git push origin master, that it's going to update. Okay, so right now it senses that there was conflict. The next commit, it would have been one that you resolved that conflict. Okay, so that's the understanding of how that works. So the command that I want to show you is called git log. And there's different ways that we can take a look at the git log. So git log pretty is probably the one that I will use the most, which basically shows you all of the commits from the most recent down to the most non-recent. So, so usually I will go through and take a look at all of the commits, and they will tell you who did the commits, and I can go into detail and I can look at, what types of things did you change as well. So so there are these tools in Git that allow us to be able to kind of see who's been doing what. And the reason why I told you to add GitLab to this is because this will typically show me, or GitLab will have tools to actually show me, very nicely on a graph, who's been doing what and what have they been committing, right? So so you can see this is what we've done today, and I can scroll down and I can see what's been done in the past as well. Okay, so so just to let you know that this is basically something that's in Git that I can take a look at. Um, okay, I think that's all I wanted to show you today. So thank you for watching, and we will come back next week with possibly a demo 7.